time. Yeah. We're gonna take you high. Yeah. Gonna have a funky good time. We're 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 gonna take you high. We're gonna take you high. All right, let's take it to Butch. Bring it down, really down for Butch. This is called Dynamics. Take it to the Butch. Welcome, Butch.
Welcome, guys. Dame i gospodo, jedan veliki virtualni pljesak i pljesak ovdje u studiju za Yogi Lonich trio.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Drago mi je da započinjemo ovu novu seriju Radionica Hrvatske glazbene unije u ovom funky, laganom, chill funk ritmu.
Right.
Kod vaših malih ekrana otvorite si pivicu, zapalite si cigareticu i sve ovi neki diminutivčići zagrebački, lagana svirkica, jel tako? Uglavnom, dakle, ovo se zove sve skupa ovaj projekt HGU Sessions u Brozovoj 8a u našem studiju za live streaming koji smo do sad koristili intenzivno i vjerovatno nas poznajete odavde iz HGU Stream Sessionsa gdje svaki četvrtak ili svaki drugi četvrtak organiziramo koncerte poznatih i polupoznatih ili budućih velikih poznatih bendova hrvatske glazbene scene. Ovaj projekt glazbenih radionica je nešto malo drugačiji. Mi smo se zapravo ovdje doselili iz kulturnog centra u Mesničkoj. Do sada se ova serija radionica nazivala HGU Sessions u Mesničkoj 12. Međutim, kao što nažalost većina vas zna, KCM, odnosno Kulturni centar Mesnička, se zbog raznih razloga, ali uglavnom financijske naravi, ovaj mjesec zatvara i bili smo prisiljeni se dislocirati i vratili smo se zapravo materi, odnosno u naš centar, headquarter Hrvatske glazbene unije, ovdje u Brozovoj 8a. Dakle, svaki ponedjeljak od ovog današnjega gledajte nas ovdje u glazbenim radionicama HGU Stream Sessions u Brozovoj 8a. Večerašnji, odnosno današnji gosti su Yogi Lonich, Damira Šomen i Joe Kaplowitza. Prepuštam vam ih u njihove spretne ruke. Bye, vidimo se uskoro.
Thank
Come
you,
on, guys.
Butch.
Keep on grooving, man.
1, 2, 1, 2. have a bubble. Want to give me a little bit, Joe? What's up, everybody? We're going to be talking about some blues today, some R&B, American style. Right, guys? Yeah. Dual showman. Yeah. We got Joe Kaplowitza. We got Damira Šomena on drums. I'm Yogi Lonich. And take this little groove out. We're gonna have a funky good time. We're gonna have a funky good time. We're gonna have a funky good time. Yeah, Damir. We're gonna take you high, yeah. We're gonna take you high, yeah. We're gonna take you high, yeah. One more. We're gonna take you high, yeah. Thank you. As the crowd goes mild. All right. Thank you. Thanks for our in-house, in-studio audience. What's up, gentlemen? You guys here to participate a little bit, enjoy. Anytime I'm taking questions, so whatever you guys want to ask about, music related, non-music related, tour related. Yes, of course. Exactly. So, let's see. So what do we got? Yeah, so one of the main key elements about blues and R&B that I find a lot of young musicians are playing basically like too many notes. That's the fundamental difference of like blues and R&B professionals. Everybody's trying to squeeze in a lot. And as you notice, our fantastic drummer back here just played the groove. It's not about the fills. And it's just a common thing. I think even in jazz, it's actually like overdone, I think, a lot. Because, the really good stuff is just grooving. It's not necessarily like playing a lot of stuff. But that's like one of the fundamental things, and trying to create musical motifs too. So almost like solos that you could sing and then maybe repeat and then develop, that kind of thing. Like, so if I'm playing something, then put a pause in there. You don't have to like fill up the space with, with stuff. Just, make it like a question, response, It's like little development, like little different. So like think of it as a conversation, and of course, solos will inevitably build up into something frantic or fast or higher, and that sort of always happens. But kind of like at the basic level, you want to sort of start easy with simple statements and motifs. What do you think, Joe? Get some?
Man, echo what he said. Man, that's absolutely right. I mean, one of the main things about playing the blues is keeping it simple. It's really important because it's a music about feeling. It's about raw feeling, It's not so much about proving yourself as a technical genius, although we had some real technical geniuses who played blues, but they don't come from the technical side. They come from the feeling side. So exactly what he said, it's black music, African-American music, man. So the ideas in that style come into play, man. Blues is at the roots of that style, African-American music. And so, we have the idea of call and response, like you said. If you ever seen people in a gospel church, they do a lot of call and response. So, if you play something, you got to make it talk. That's the whole thing. Keep it simple. He made the guitar talk. When he did that thing, that's about making it talk. And so, I know I can talk quite a bit. So leaving space is essential. If you came to the blues from another style of music, like rock or classical or jazz or whatever, spend some time really learning about the history of blues, the Mississippi Delta, and the master players, and spend a lot of time listening to the tracks. They're all over the internet or on records, wherever you can find them. Just listen to the tunes and try to get that style under your skin a little bit, because it's not the same as doing rock blues. Blues is its own thing,
Well said, Joe. Well said.
That was enough for the whole workshop.
Right. Now what are we going to do for the rest 90 minutes now? So let's see. So shall we play a song, or do you want to, shall we maybe demonstrate? Let's demonstrate a shuffle groove.
Cool.
Maybe. Even though we were pretty much playing a shuffle groove. But why don't we start with, I know the sort of, the guitar, the rock guitar thing is generally like, if I was maybe an A, you might hear like... And then that's a shuffle groove, right? Which is pretty basic, pretty simple. But everybody would play a similar rhythm, or something complementary. Like, what would you play if I played that?
Well, just follow his rhythm, but just play A. Just playing one note. Because he didn't change chords, so I don't need to change the note. Just play one note.
So I usually don't play this when because it's very rock. Right. But if I'm gonna play something a little less heavy, I might get off of these fifths and sixth intervals, and I might play like a ninth voicing. Like,
And if he does that, then I'll change what I'm doing. Maybe add a pattern.
bum, bum. See, he's answering. Answer, right? Yeah, he's... The whole thing's a major listening experience. Listening to each other and feeding the energy off of each other. And go ahead, Damira, if you were going to add a little more, what would you do? Nice. Back to our group. Go to the 4. This is called the 4 chord. We have a little vocabulary in music in general where we can throw out numbers like that. Like if I told Joe, give me a minor 6. 1, 2. See? He knows exactly what's going on. And go back to the 1. Give me a minor 3. Ready? Different change. Back to 1. Okay, Joe, give me some.
Well, minor 6.
Beautiful, Joe.
Thanks.
All right. See, that's also, it's a little language that we learned.
Right.
Thanks, guys. It's a little language that we learned. And just so I can fill in the gaps for some people, when people say 1, 4, 5, what does that mean? Well, you take the major scale, like say we were in the key of A. By the way, am I talking to any specific camera? Or what? Okay. Oh, yeah. So anyways, so like say we were in the key of A. In that case, we would be playing A major or A mixolydian more specifically. But so the first note is the 1, which is A. The 2 is B. 3 is C sharp. 4. So when people say the 4, we're going to some kind of a D chord. In this case, it's D7, and then the 5 is E7, and then back to 1. So that's, and then the other ones like the 2 and the 3 are minor, and the 6 is minor as well. So we kind of went to the 6 minor a couple times during that. And I mean, it's not likely that anybody's going to do that on a gig, but
Right. I was just going to say, that's something we do.
we do for fun, for
on
jamming.
a jam.
Yeah.
Or like if he wants to teach me a song that he wrote or another song that I don't know or something. It goes to the 3, it goes to the 6.
Yeah. And actually, but when I'm playing with a high-level guy like Joe, I don't have to say anything. He just hears the chords, and that's
Sometimes, yeah.
but that's basically
Well,
but like
thanks, Yogi.
Yeah, no,
And
but
likewise, back at you, man.
you know, just like hearing the sounds is really like the ultimate goal, I think, of improving musicianship. And as like I maybe my chops are getting worse as I get older, but but my ears are expanding. So it's like give and take. You know, like I find that I can hear things like I didn't hear them 20 years ago, or you know, now my ears keep expanding with different harmonic range and pitch and just progressions. Now I can hear stuff better, and there's always room for improvement with that, which is fun. You know, just like people drop, you know, a cat walking on the piano, and then that's that, you know. But yeah, so but for me, the whole fulfillment of music, especially improvisational music, is getting on a stage with musicians who like to listen, not just who like to play, but who like to listen, so that we can have a conversation on stage, and that's cool. And also there's one thing with young jazz musicians too, is sometimes their ears are also developed, especially rhythmically, and then they tend to also like overdo it with the complementary playing, you know, like so like if somebody plays something, then every guy on the stage has to emulate it or jump on it, and that's also like a little bit like little overkill. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
like sometimes you go on the session and somebody changes the rhythm, then the whole band's like, okay, let's copy. You know,
Well,
there's also like a certain level
Right.
of like respect and background support that I think comes with mature playing. Is like
Right.
you know, just holding down the groove.
Yeah,
Like if
that's
I
the
went
word.
to a shuffle,
That's
like
the word.
and then all of a sudden I start playing double times. You know, I don't necessarily want everybody to start going, you know, but the younger jazz players tend to do that, and it's not so tasteful all the time, you know. So it's like you gotta like, it has to be the right moment, and there is a moment for that sometimes. Maybe if the guy's been soloing for a few minutes and then he clearly wants to take it to somewhere else, and you know, but you can usually
Right.
feel that stuff energetically.
Right. Well, the thing that I would say...
Dečki, sorry that I'm interrupting
Do
you.
you need to translate a little bit?
But I have to move your cars. So
Oh.
you can give me your keys
I
and
didn't
I can do
drive.
it for you. I will be park boy for you, okay?
I don't have a car.
Sorry for this interruption, but it was
My
unintentional.
wife dropped me off. Thank you, Lala. Thank you.
No problem.
Well, while he's dealing with that,
Can you get it waxed too? Well,
this is like comedy hour. This is great, man. So, but I wanted to add something to what Yogi said. You know, the thing is, the way I learned from the older players that I learned from is it's how you approach the music like this. And the thing is to always approach it from the groove being the rhythm. That's first. and finding your place within the groove.
Yeah.
Find your place. Where do you find your place where you can sit and do your part, do your thing? Like if I'm playing bass, I find my place. If I get it working the rhythm good, I'm boom, ba-doom, ba-doom. I just play this with Šomena. I'm gonna play this and play it until it feels good. And when it starts to feel good, and
Then you sit on
we
it.
look at each other and smile, and that's because we locked in rhythmically. You know, we got a good groove going. And then I found my place, and I'm just gonna stay there, man, because now I'm leaving a room for him and him to find their place. And when everybody finds their place, then the music goes up. And, you know, different stuff, he might do something that is on top of what we're doing. But, yeah, like you said, I'm not going to just jump on it. I'm going to stay on my place because it's important, you know?
Support role.
Yeah. So you got to find your place in the groove and stay on it.
Comping means complimenting.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Doesn't mean like, you know, like I'm gonna grab everything that you play and you know, like nail it and you know, like just sort of jump on your back. And no, it's a supportive role. It's
Yeah,
complimenting.
and if you go to one of these gigs or concerts of some like world-class awesome players, and you can watch them when they start, especially on the first song of the concert or whatever, if it's in a stadium, whatever, you can watch them. If you're close enough and you can see them find their place. They get comfortable with the sound, they get in there, they look at each other. Okay, I'm in my place, you're in your, we got our places, and then the singer comes out and they go for it, you know. So yeah, it says this is part of being a rhythm section, you know.
Right. And
This
guitar is
is,
part of the rhythm section.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You know, piano, bass, drums.
I think it's
Guitar.
about great groovers. They have this ability to hypnotize you
Right.
with the groove and
Yeah.
with these ingredients. And if you place yourself like some moody sound, I will add some definition sound.
Mhm.
So yes, we are tight.
Right.
Let's say we are tight, but still I'm thinking like producer
Yeah.
to make the whole thing bigger.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I wanted just to edit this kind of approach also.
Let's try to do that. Let's show
Okay.
them. Let's do an example of
Give it a show.
like I'll play a part, you add a part, you add a part,
Okay.
and you know, and you'll see how we all fit together like a puzzle. And this is not worked out, so
Or you'll see how we're puzzled.
yeah. Or we're gonna have puzzled looks on our faces.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll just try something. So I start with a little tempo like that. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. You can add a little more. I might change a harmony just for fun. Ready?
Okay.
So I was in minor. Maybe I might go dominant. So what kind of scales do we use in blues and R&B? Basically, like, what depends on if it's minor or is it major? Is it dominant?
Yeah.
Those are sort of the three main sounds. So right now we're in dominant, right? So we're gonna kind of use this thing called a mixolydian, maybe. Nothing wrong with putting a little bit of a minor third in there. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, 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 da, 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 right?
Yeah.
What about if we go into minor? Then we kind of think Dorian or A minor pentatonic. Right? That's pentatonic. Such a simple scale, right? But it's all about phrasing and feel, vibrato, how you phrase that. Like that was very laid back. Right?
Yeah.
Fully laid back. As opposed to which is really square, right? No good, right? Too square. Give it some grease. Also, bend that guitar in tune, please, guys. You know? See how they're listening? I can play as quiet as I want and they'll just back me up. See? If I start playing a little louder, they'll join. I just changed the harmony and he heard it. I went to major. These guys can back anybody in the world. Seriously.
Thanks, man.
Very happy to be here with Joe Kaplowitza, Damira Šomena.
Yogi.
I'm Yogi Lonich. But yeah, so I mean, listening, fitting into the puzzle of music, you know, like it seems like a basic thing to us because we've been doing it for decades already.
Yeah, maybe that's something I wanted to ask you. You know, I think, you know, we take it for granted being from America that we always heard blues. We always heard black music. It's everywhere. That's what's happening in America, man. You know, turn on the radio. You never know who you're going to hear, but it's going to be something soulful for sure.
Right.
Especially in the years that we grew up. I mean, you know, in the late 70s, in the 70s and 80s, you know, what the radio had, what was on the radio, Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder, Tina Turner, you know.
Right.
B.B. King, Albert Collins. I mean, these was on the radio every day, just about. So, I don't know, what's the first time you ever heard blues music that you remember?
I remember, well, geez, you know, well, in my early days, of course, influenced more by rock, but my first blues influence were B.B. King, who was actually, his birthday was yesterday.
That's right.
Which, happy birthday, B.B. But yeah, I tend to gravitate towards a lot of R&B, and I remember like listening to Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, and also like acoustic Elizabeth Cotten and Dave Van Ronk, different a lot of acoustic blues music too. But I was, you know, I do like Taj Mahal. He's one of my favorite from the old school. Mm-hmm. I like a lot of like groovy, funky blues type of things, you know. And of course, you know, Hendrix, even though he's from the rock school, but he's got that thing, you know.
But yeah, I mean,
it's just
right.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, like for me, I think it was 15 years old when I finally started like, because I was into more of the rock when I started playing like when I was like 12, so kind of got a late start.
Yeah, but what rock were you starting?
Oh yeah, well actually Brian Setzer of the Stray Cats was actually my first. That was
Stray
kind of
Cat
like
Strut. Yeah, I had that little 45
and that was like
record.
jazzy, bluesy, rockabilly.
It looked like that, the little green one over there. It was Stray Cat Strut.
Yeah,
It had the green and pink on it.
Yeah, but I was pretty much into that because I thought that it was just.
But that's a
great.
shuffle
Yeah,
kind of a song, and it's blues influence. It
Exactly.
wouldn't exist without having the blues, you know.
You know, but then I went into Van Halen and AC/DC, who Angus Young, of course, is just, he's actually a ripping blues rock guitar player.
For sure. He's a legend.
Yeah, and, but yeah, I think just for me it was, and then it kind of went into Zeppelin and jazz and just, But like my electric players, I also like this guy, Robin Ford, who is very popular in the guitar world. Peter Green, who else? There was like these early electric players, I mean, my tastes are really rounded, so they kind of go everywhere. What about you? What was your first blues influence?
Well, okay, I was lucky. I don't know, for whatever reason. I know I told this story before in different places, but I grew up around I don't know. My father had a hi-fi system. It was just one of those average, regular hi-fis, and my mother and father had about 50 or 60 records, and it was mostly blues and jazz with some Beatles mixed in and a couple of different things. And so I don't know. They had this one. My dad liked piano players a lot of piano music, like the boogie woogie players and Chicago blues players and jazz musicians. You know, jazz, Art Tatum and Monk and these guys. He would listen to them a lot, almost every day. And we had this one record that was Chicago blues giants, you know, and it had a collection of different guys, and it had some of this, real serious Chicago blues, and then some other blues that was just before rock and roll came out. But I made him play this record every day. I had to hear it.
That's great.
And I liked the song, the one song of, I was like 4 years old, I was a kid.
Wow.
And he had the song Hey Bartender by Floyd Dixon, which is a really good version. If you never heard it, look it up. It means people know the version from the, let me be closer to the microphone. Aha, okay, now I'm closer. So yeah, what got me into music was Hey Bartender by Floyd Dixon. Look it up. And everybody knows that version by the Blues Brothers, but there were a number of versions before that. And Floyd Dixon's was probably from 1950, something like that. Early 1950, before rock music. But it was a style they called race music. They called it race music because black people played it. And this was before. Wow. It was a style, that's what it was known as, before you had the term rock and roll. This was before Chuck Berry, before Little Richard. They had this thing, and it was bluesy. It was heavily bluesy. It had the classy thing that jazz had, but it was definitely where rock came from, one of the main places. And so we had this song, Hey Bartender, you know, bum bum, it's all chick sitting on the end, bum bum, you know, like hey baby, can't we be friends, bum bum, hey man, blah blah blah. I forget the words. Da da da. Hey bartender, and then it goes to the four song, you know, a 4-chord. Well, that got me into music. And, you know, I had they had 2 or 3 Taj Mahal records that we saw. They took me to see Ray Charles when I was a kid in an outdoor music festival. Wow. It was great. It was 1981. He was rocking back and forth. I had never seen anybody do that. I thought he was going to fall off his chair. But it was so good, you know. And, you know, we had radio stations. You must have had it, too. We lived on the East Coast, and there was at least 2 jazz radio stations, and there was always a blues show. You could depend on that. And so I just kind of got sniffing around where I can find blues records, blues music, you know.
When did you start playing keyboard?
I think I was 7 or 8, wow. 7 or 8, you know. But the first thing I picked out on the piano was I figured out that on the black keys, I could make something that sounded like blues. Boom. I started on G flat, so I go bum, bum, bum. I figured out I could imitate on the black keys, right? I'm serious.
That's good.
It was on a little Casio keyboard. It was about this big, which I still have. And then we got a little piano. We got like a pianino or whatever, little Wurlitzer piano. And so I figured out how to do it on C. So I taught myself how to go boom. That's all about it, man. I figured out how to do that. And then I figured out how to go to F. All root position. All root position. I don't know inversions. And then after, I worked on that for a while, a couple of months. And then one summer, I finally got I figured out where the how to go from G to F to C. And I just taught that to myself when I was 8, you know. And then, it was always a little bit of a problem with the piano teachers because I like to learn things by ear, and they want me to read these little songs like, you know,
Right.
Farmer John Goes to Town or something.
Right.
It's just like, what the hell is that? And this is, it doesn't have any feeling. It's a silly little song, but they're, no, you have to play this way with this finger. You know, so it took me a while until I was about 12 or 13, even 14, that I had enough discipline. And by that time, I had started listening to jazz, and I figured out that the good jazz players, they all study classical. So I better sit down and figure it out, you know, like technique and reading and get in some Bach and Beethoven and that stuff. So that happened later. But my good 5 or 6 years of my early life, it was just blues, shuffles. I remember they had a show and tell day, like bring your favorite record to school. This was in 2nd grade. This is a good one. Everybody brought the little kids' records, like from cartoon theme songs and stuff. But I brought Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee, which was my dad's blues record. And I want to hear Key to the Highway. Nobody, the kids thought I was crazy.
Wow.
The kids thought I was crazy, but the teacher liked it. She's like, all right, this is great. Wow, cool, Joe. You know, I got into it early.
Do you know The Battle Is Over?
I don't know.
Sonny Terry, Brownie McGee?
That's one of their tunes.
Yeah.
I'm sure I heard it. I don't know by heart, but
Oh, that's fun.
I mean, that was for everybody that wants to know. That's a duo, 2 men. One guy played mouth harmonica and sang, and the other guy played guitar and sang. He played acoustic guitar with steel strings. It was just the 2 of them, and they were famous in the 60s and 70s, 80s. They toured all over the world. Big blues act.
Shall we play a song? Let's do a Taj Mahal song since we've mentioned. We're going to play Chevrolet.
Chevrolet from E.
Yep. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Buy you a Chevrolet. Wanna buy you a Chevrolet. I'm gonna buy a Chevrolet. Just do something for you. Just do something for you. I'm gonna buy you a watch and chain. Mama, gonna buy you a watch and chain. I'm gonna buy a watch and chain. Just do something for you. Just do something for you. I'm gonna build you a house and home with my bare hands. Gonna build you a home. I'm gonna build a house and home. Just do something for you. Just do something for you. Build you a house and home. Build you a house and home. My bare hands, I'll build you a home. Just do something for you. Just do something for you. I'm gonna buy you a watch and chain. I'm gonna buy you a chain. I'm gonna build a watch and chain. Just do something for you. Just do something for you. I'm gonna buy you a Chevrolet. Mama, gonna buy you a 54 Chevrolet. I'm gonna buy a Chevrolet. Just do something for you. Here we go. Just do something for you. Come on, Joe. give Damira some.
Bravo.
Taj Mahal, Taj Mahal.
Ako vas smijem prekinuti na hrvatskom, nadam se da naši gledatelji i streamatelji razumiju dobro engleski. Mislim da to nije prezahtjevna tema, dakle, it's not a rocket science, so everybody can understand. I have one question for Yogi about this, your technique of playing the solo and tracking with your voice.
Oh.
How did you develop this style?
Probably just listening.
Naturally, or
just listening to blues and jazz musicians, and mainly actually it was because I was trying to actually hear what I was playing, because a lot of times as a younger musician you tend to follow what your fingers do patterns wise and things like that. So like if I'm singing, it tends to limit me a little bit as far as like, so I don't play such complicated melodies and things like that. So it makes it more musical for me, really, like when I'm singing. But I mean, guys like George Benson, but in jazz musicians like grunting their solos and things like that. So, but for me, it was more like trying to find musicality in my soloing, so it wasn't so scaly, and more just trying to make it more vocal and singable, I guess,
So for you, it's natural to sing your solo and to play it at the same time.
Yeah, I try to. I mean, it's still a challenge. I mean, sometimes I try to reach for things that are harmonically, a little more difficult, and it's harder for me to sing.
It's not pentatonic scale all the time.
Sometimes it's not all the time, yeah. But for me, it's a challenge, and it also helps me really get grounded with what I'm playing, rather than being dictated by some technical things or some exercises that I practiced, and I don't want to sound like exercises. So, how do you feel about the whole singing thing, too? You do it, I'm sure.
Sing when I play?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Closer, please, Joe. Closer to the mic.
I don't know. A lot of keyboard players, a lot of piano players, we tend to kind of groan and grunt. Yeah, especially in all the jazz tradition that I watched, like Monk or Elgarn or even, Keith Jarrett and these guys. But yeah, I kind of moan along. I don't know. It never comes up the opportunity to me to play a keyboard solo and sing at the same time. I don't know. It's kind of harder because you have so many choices of range. You can go jump octaves on a keyboard so much that it would be weird. I mean, but I know the first time I ever heard that was probably, I don't know, George Benson,
Right. Yeah.
But the blues players did that too.
Right.
I know. But it's something about having that 3-3-5 and those things. It just goes together.
Right.
His guitar, and the voice thing, it just goes right together.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a real important thing. I like to express myself vocally, even to myself, because it helps me on keyboards play a phrase. Play a something that sounds like it's singing. Because you could, if you wanted to, just play notes constantly without stopping.
Yeah.
You'll never run out of breath. So I kind of try to control what I do along with my own breathing. Like if I'm singing to myself, I might be like, like this. Breathe. Breathe. Whereby I could just go. The keyboard will keep playing no matter how much you press the keys down. But
man.
That makes music. That's what's make music.
Yeah, I noticed that. I find myself sometimes having to consciously take breaths too during music.
Guitar's not a wind instrument either, right? You could play notes until your fingers fell off.
Yeah, and then just getting carried away sometimes with the notes. So just take a breath, Yeah.
So that's a really important part. Definitely.
I like that, the breathing part. Do we have any questions from our studio guests?
Wait, samo malo mikrofon.
Mikrofon.
Dakle, ta pojava pjevanja, singing and playing in the same time, it's not same as a singing. It's some kind of backup when you're playing. Because I heard lots of players who sing when they play, but it's kind of inner voice,
Right.
And and some from jazz world, Ella Fitzgerald, scat singing. But it's not same as blues singing like Benson or.
Right.
But it's very interesting those relation to try to vocalize your playing.
Well, I had a teacher who was doing that. His name is Mac Doherty. He was a Texan blues and jazz guy that I studied with, and he used to tell me, sing your solos first. Like, be able to sing them before you could play them. Like if we were going over like Stella by Starlight or some kind of standard jazz stuff, and he would say, don't just sing what you're playing, play what you're singing. So that the sound and the stuff is coming from your ears and from your mind and body, rather than just sort of trying to skate along and sing what my fingers are doing, So, like if I had a melody, like this is a G13th, right? So if I wanted to sing like the 13th, it's right. If I sing the third, is So I know like the notes that I want to play before I play them, or the ninth is So it's like, so when I'm thinking of a melody, it's coming from here and my voice, and rather than just like, okay, I'm going to play the scale that fits, You know what I mean? So it's like if I come up with a melody, I'm hopefully hearing it first. So it's not, so it's like vocalizing is, I try to make that first and then just kind of follow with the guitar. So I mean, so I kind of like try to come up with the melody in my head or voice first, So I don't know, I think that's a healthier way of approaching music and sort of more natural and just like you kind of know what you're really playing, you know. And of course, there's a lot of things that are hard for me to sing. Like if I'm trying to sing, you know, you know, like some kind of diminished thing that's really hard to sing it, you know. But that's sort of the goal, right? Is to be able to really, you know, if you're playing some weird intervals or something, and then you want to be able to know what you're playing, you know. I don't know. How do you?
Oh, I agree. I think the cool thing is that's what's great about it, because if you, like you were talking about, it's singing to yourself. It's your inner voice. You probably won't do any of that complicated, diminished stuff because, I mean, what is that diminished lick anyway? It's something we all learned.
You learned in college,
jazz school, and everybody wants to be like Michael Brecker. Well, okay, there's only one, so who cares? Don't play it. You know, like unless you're on one of those tunes, one of those train tunes, where the diminished lick really fits and it belongs where it came from. Yeah, then it goes there. But
but it's just not appropriate.
It doesn't go everywhere. You know, in fact, it goes almost nowhere. It belongs in that one style of hard bop. You know, where it was born.
Right.
And so if you sing, the point is what we're trying to be is if you sing from your inner voice, you probably won't do that.
Right.
You'll do something more soulful, something more honest, with less notes.
Something more inside the chord changes too.
But just something more song-like with less notes. So it'll get across to people. The whole point is to get across to people a feeling. That's why we play music.
Right.
At least that's what I think. You know, like if you're showing off about yourself on the instrument, then it makes people bored. They won't listen. But if you give them something from yourself, some feeling, then you're going to get a response, you know. And that means rhythm and this thing we call phrasing, playing phrases instead of just noodling, you know.
Right.
It's more from the heart.
Yeah.
He's always showing like this movement.
It comes from the heart, right.
Yes, from the heart.
Yeah.
And it isn't just from the mind calculating or, you know. It's heart and soul.
Yeah.
That's where to start. That's where to get people's attention. And then if you get their attention, then maybe you can try some fancy stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But just don't lose the feeling.
Right.
Yogi, one question.
Sure.
Do you have a lot of licks from your sack?
From my bag of tricks?
Yeah.
About 2,500 licks.
No.
No, yeah, of course I have a lot. Actually, I used to, as part of my learning process, you know, I used to like catalog them on a recorder. Like, okay, this is the Jeff Beck lick from that, you know, album, that Faces album. This is the Angus lick from You Shook Me Up. So I definitely, of course, like I have licks, you know. But my goal is to not play licks, and of course I fail at that all the time. There's always things that just come out because muscle memory, you know. But I try to make my licks that I do play, I try to make them more like vocal melodies, you know. Like I always, like if I'm in G again, you know, of course there's these positions that work great, you know. But if I start in B.B. King land, you know, I mean that could be considered a lick, but it's also just a note, really, you know. And then you have like a few other, you know, few other things like that. So I try to keep my licks not, you know, not like, you know, not those, or, you know, not those kind of things that.
Not so obvious.
Yeah. You know,
like
I try to keep it more like, little more like, but I'm, you know, I don't play just necessarily pure blues or anything, but I try to just pick some notes that are gonna make the audience either uncomfortable or relaxed or whatever the thing I want to do, you know. If I want to, you know, take somebody to like, you know, happy land, then maybe we're going to play something very major and soothing, but maybe if we want to get dark and sexy or something, we might, you know, play some different kind of harmonic modes, you know, or something. But yeah, for me, it's all about like creating a feeling, and like Joe was saying, like just sort of getting a reaction from the audience. Sometimes I do really uncomfortable notes just to, like if we're playing in a minor groove, like maybe I'll just really, you know, I'll play a major third in there just to make it weird, like, or some kind of, like just to give it some angst or something like that, like that 7 sharp 9 sound, or even like flat 9, just to get dark sometimes and weird. So but I do know the notes that will make an audience uncomfortable. You know. I mean, just really kind of strange ones, and I like that. I also like just kind of going outside like that. It's fun. But yeah. Go ahead.
Yoga?
Edinist.
As you mentioned earlier, that you wouldn't use diminished licks, because it doesn't fit in blues.
Right.
But for example, you also mentioned you like Robin Ford, like myself.
Oh yeah.
He uses lots.
He does.
Lots of time diminished scales, but he finds spots and places where he would use it. So maybe I wanted to ask. Would you have some example together with Joe where you would use in blues, diminished scale?
Like and Robin, I take a lot of this stuff from Robin too, because he was like fusion / blues guy, like really pure blues artist, but also played in the Yellow Jackets and played, with Miles Davis and. But he, so I took a lot of things from Robin. Like he has a couple applications. Like if he's playing, like a static, kind of minor jam, you'll hear him play, B, half step, whole step, diminished. Like, give me a little buck. He'll go. So I'm playing like. Basically, I'm putting some of those weird notes that we just talked about. Flat 9, minor third, major third. And he does that. That's like one application. That kind of. And that's kind of like fusion world a little bit. The other application in a blues context would be when you're moving up a fourth from, say, like if we're in the key of A, and then we go to the 4 chord, right? So right when we get to right before we go to the 4 chord, Robin or many like jazz artists will play a half step, whole step diminished as a sort of a tension chord, like A7 flat 9 going to the D. So let's do the A chord. Let's do like 4 bars of A. So we're just blues. Now he's going to give me a tension chord like A7 flat 9. See that? So then that's the thing that Robin does. He has some great patterns actually. And then when we're on the 5 chord, right? 5. Still. Then the 4 chord. I can play E diminished. So on there, I give the tension notes also, Now I'm going to give you those tension notes again. Now, okay, so we can just break that down because I think you're smiling because you like that sound. So,
sure.
So basically, all I did, like for instance, the context of a altered chord, right? You can play A, half step, whole step, diminished. So that would look like this. So. that's just like A, then half step, then a whole step, then a half step, then a whole, right? So that's the scale. And of course, resolving to a chord tone when we get to the D chord. So resolving to the third, the root, or seventh, or some kind of, you know, I mean, yeah. So you can kind of like, so, or, you know, so any kind of like diminished line that resolves nicely to a chord tone of the 4. And also you can use diminished when you go to the, when you're going E7 down to A. Yeah. You know, that kind of thing. I don't know if it helps a little bit.
Yeah. He also shows different kind of turnarounds in blues.
Oh, yeah. There is a lot of turnarounds. And you can do that with like tritone substitution. Again, now we're going into jazz world. We're leaving blues land.
Yeah, but it crosses over. It crosses over, and it crosses over because of people like Robin Ford. I gotta say, all the really good guitar players that I ever knew all love Robin Ford.
Yeah,
he's like the
and his feel is like
guitarist. You know, everybody checks him out. And the thing that's cool about Robin is that he knows about so many different types of music. He really studied everything, and yet when he plays, he approaches everything with a lot of blues and soul. So he can make it work. He can do it. He can actually take the diminished idea from jazz and put it into a slow blues, and you'll love it. It'll sound great because he puts the feeling on it, and he knows where to do it, so it will work. You know, he's not using brute force to just really slam it in there. He knows how to finesse it, you know, because he studied everything, and he's a genius, guitar genius,
the man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All the guitar players love Robin Ford. So if you've never heard of him, if you're not a guitar player, he's a guru, big time.
He has I think he has a course.
And bass players.
He has a course, I think, on True Fire or something. But some turnarounds, So you have your basic like. Right, so that's like 1 to 4 to 1, you know. 1, 5, okay, and then you have things like, you know, those kind of things, or you have downward, you know, and then you have these like tritone substitution things, which are like, or you got, you know, or you have, you know, you know, but the tritone substitution works good on 6/2.
Can you explain further what is tritone substitution?
Sure.
With more details, please.
Okay, so let's just say that we're just going to do like A7 to the 6 to the 2 to the 5, right? So that could also be like a turnaround, right? It was 1, I'm playing dominant for the 6, then minor for the 2, and dominant for the 5. So that's your basic. Now I'm going to show you what the tritone substitutions are of that. So instead of playing A7th, you can play a tritone away, which is a sharp 4 or a diminished 5th, or augmented 4th or diminished 5th interval. So the tritone away from A is D sharp, right? So a lot of those common tones, like if I were to play D, like a 7th chord, a tritone away, it's very similar to A7th. It's like all I did was change one root note. So I'm actually substituting a chord that's a tritone away, substituting a dominant chord. And then, so you can do that with the whole 6-2-5-1 thing. So instead of playing the 1 chord, I could play E flat. Instead of playing the
F sharp 7th chord, which is the 6, I could play a tritone substitution away, which is C7. So right now we already have, right? So those substitute that, and then instead of going to B minor or B7, you go to F, because that's a tritone substitute. Tritone away from B is F. So we have and then instead of going to the 5, we go to B flat, because that substitutes for E, and then back. So you have something like, which is kind of strange. Like, I don't know if I would substitute every chord necessarily, but you can mix and match. So like, instead of playing, you can, instead of playing the instead of playing the B minor, you can just play F. So you have dun, 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 to the E. Yeah, right? Or maybe dun, 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 dun. That's a tritone sub for E. I'm playing B flat, then A. So that's why you hear these bass lines. Dun, 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 dun. All of those little walks are tritone subs. So it's kind of like the bass player is actually tritone subbing all day long. You have some stuff to add about the tritone sub thing?
Not really. You just illustrated it really well. Just keep in mind, he's talking about the root notes, root movements of the chord. The first note is moving by tritones.
Right.
And so the notes that you play above the root actually can stay the same. They just change. They'll work in both places.
Right. They just happen to be sort of very similar voicings.
I can play A7, and I'll play E flat below it, and it's the same. A7, E flat 7, A7, E flat 7. All I changed was the lower note by a tritone.
Yeah, and we're not playing the 5th.
And it works on dominant 7 chords only.
Yeah.
Like this, 1, 3, 5, flat 7. Those kind of chords, it works on that.
Yeah. And also, but you do hear like interesting major 7th
Well,
stuff.
You could do that with the, now we're getting into the jazz harmony.
Then we're in jazz world. Yeah. But but generally in blues and funk, in that kind of
Dominant 7th chord.
Yeah, dominant 7th.
Dominant 7th chord.
You can also go dun, 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 dun. I've played all A dominant. The bass notes are always tritone subbing all day long. Like, it's approaching by a half step above or half step below a lot. And so but I don't know if that sort of answered that question a little bit, Booch.
Yeah.
Did I go too fast with the
no.
tritone sub chords?
No. You explained it. I just wanted to hear some example of blues turnaround on some.
But you can do it. Yeah, in blues, So like you hear this. When you hear that, that's actually a tritone substitution of A. When they go to this D sharp or E flat 7 going to D, that's basically substituting a tritone away dominant chord to add tension. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's why you hear Stormy Money, like when it goes up a half step, the real function of that is actually like it's going to a 5 chord, even though they're, it's a G sharp 13, but basically that's a tritone substitution type of thing too. Whatever the chord is. Should we sing it? Lyric. They call it Stormy Monday, right. And Tuesday's just as bad. Tritone sub. They call it Stormy Monday, Tuesday just as bad. And Wednesday is worse. And Thursday is all so sad. The eagle flies on Friday, baby. Saturday, I go out to play. The eagle flies on Friday. Saturday, I go out to play. Sunday I go to church. And get down on those knees and pray. baby. I've been trying to find my baby. Come on, Lord, please send her on home to me. Yeah, all right. Little stormy Monday for you. Nice playing, gents. Again, Joe Kaplowitza on the keyboards and Damira dual showman.
Yogi Lonich.
Yeah.
Damira Šomena on drums.
Damira.
Dual showman. All right. Any more questions? I like the questions. I like the deep dive.
I have one. Still about tritone substitution, but in the context of, for example, one chord.
One chord jamming?
Yeah. Is there any possibility to use?
Yeah, I actually.
In such contexts?
I don't really hear that too much. Like if I'm doing like a.
I can think of one place.
Yeah.
There's that famous tune from the Led Zeppelin third album that goes dun 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 dun.
Oh, right.
That's
right.
like
It's like
Immigrant song.
Immigrant song.
Yeah.
At the end of Immigrant Song, they do that for a while. That's just weird. It's weird, man.
yeah, you're right.
Right?
So yeah, there's a place for it, and I think
F sharp.
well,
yeah.
definitely like yeah, exactly. Yeah,
It's weird. It's really weird.
it goes.
But that's what it would sound like. At the end.
Then it goes.
At the, yeah. Yeah, it's a bass line. And it goes.
Right. That's right. Yeah, it's right. So I mean,
that's what it would sound like.
actually, I mean, and so basically that comes back to the diminished thing. Like I often kind of play some of those creepy notes, and I try not to think of them as diminished necessarily, because to me, like that boxes me into like a pattern when I think diminished. But like if I'm doing a one chord jam, and you can't really do it too well in dominant. Like if you're bluesing out, diminished sounds a little, I don't know, pretentious and a little wrong, But I hear it a lot in like a minor kind of jam, like that whole like what's like Stratus, or something like Billy Cobham, where you kind of like take liberties with the minor tonality a little bit, like where you kind of take those diminished-y sounds. But so in a sense, like when you're soloing, yeah, tritone substitution, that's
Because now you use that tool, let's say.
Yeah.
And you sounded instantly to me like John Scofield.
Right. Yeah, those are those sounds. Those are basically the sounds. And what I was going to get at was instead of like thinking of a scale, I always try to tell the younger players, like, think of intervals. Like, think of a sound. Like, what sound are you trying to convey? If you want to do something sad, then use a minor interval. Like, if you want to do something happy, or if you want to do something twisted, use like a minor ninth or major third with that. So I always
Emotion.
Yeah, it's like so try to pick your. I always tell like students and people, like, pick what sounds you like. Like if you like that Scofield sound, then you like the sound of minor third to root to tritone to minor third. Those are the sounds that sound good to you. So play those sounds, but don't necessarily think of it as like, okay, well, if I play the complete scale, then you kind of lost the vibe. So yeah, like I love the sound of a ninth a lot, So if I'm in there, I might hear like, oh, excuse me, I can't sing right now, or maybe like like the sound of a 13th is a cool sound too. So it's kind of all about like your taste and building your own little vocabulary of intervals that you like. You know, if you like octaves, like, you know, Wes Montgomery style, you know, that's a sound that you can incorporate into your vocabulary. So in terms of tritone substitution, I would say, like, I don't think guys would necessarily like just play the tritone sub, although I did, you know, like sometimes guys will just play the tritone and then kind of go back to the original key, but I think that's like, there's room for that when you're on sort of a 1-chord minor, 7 sharp 9 kind of altered jam. There's a little room for, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, I definitely recommend more like getting sounds in your ears, like, you know, and like just the sounds that your ears really dig, then just play those, you know. I don't know how else to really articulate it. Like, you know, how would you describe like getting some of those, you know, like in terms of an approach for improvisation?
Oh, well, I don't know. Yeah, that's weird. I mean, it's not weird for me. I use playing organ like this. Like he was saying before, I use those tritone subs constantly when I play the bass lines as passing tones. You know, that's the most rudimentary way I can start to illustrate it. Like back when we sang from blues and A, I'm going from A to E flat to D to A flat, and then back up A, and then E, A flat, and down to A flat. You know, that's one way I do it. Doing improvisation, well, you know, I would try to stick on the dominant chords. You know, if I'm in B flat, you know, B flat with a flat 5, you know, I might just start just doing something. I like to work in very kind of rough terms, you know, really crudest brutalism almost in music. The way you would think of, like, I like the sketches of Picasso at the end of his life. It's a real you know, like just they're very expressive, but they're very only what's necessary is in there. There's no extra stuff. So like I would play over B flat to do tritone stuff. I would just start working, start with E major. It's the most brutal, honestly, way I can do it. There it is. But then I will start working in and out of the chord, you know, adding notes. And then you have the scale, the diminished scale. Starting half step. But I try to refrain from doing those kind of patterns. I don't know. Right. It just doesn't have the same effect on keyboards as it does on saxophone, on tenor saxophone, and on guitar. This stuff really works. And all the players tend to do it. I mean, but yeah, you know. I mean, I look at tritone substitution in a way, is in a jazz way, working with jazz music and doing chord substitutions, you know. Again, that's going back to the root movements. That's how I like to look at it. But I don't know. That's like where that's where I'm at.
What about drum substitution?
Tritone substitution on drums. Now that's a possibility, man.
What other question? Any other questions? Or?
I'm a drummer, but I like to listen to guitar players. Right before that tritonal discussion, wasn't that the basic premise for Stevie Ray Vaughan's "I Ain't Gonna Give Up on Love"? When you sang that, "Lord Have Mercy on Me." Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, you mean when we sang "Stormy Monday"?
Yeah.
What do you mean? It was similar lyrics, or what? Or
I'm a drummer, but I feel it's the same sound. The sound, atmosphere. Isn't that the basic structure or premise of
like blues? Blues format.
Similar chord.
Well, yeah. I mean, almost 90% of blues songs are all the same 12-bar form, you know. But I don't know that specific song. Do you know that song? What you're talking about?
Ain't Gonna Give Up on Love, Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Is it a slow blues?
Yeah, it was.
I mean,
it was that tempo.
It's probably I mean,
Soul to Soul album.
Okay.
Okay.
That's still a tune from Soul. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's most likely the exact same chords because most blues songs are 12-bar form. Actually, and we were going to talk about that a little bit too. Like not all 12-bar forms are exactly the same. Like, I mean, for the most part, like the turnarounds could be a little bit different, or like in bar 2, sometimes they do a quick change to the 4 chord, which is song to song. You know, maybe half the songs have that. So you kind of have to know that stuff or be listening for it. If you don't, like if you're new on a blues set, always listen for the second bar. If we're like, let's just do a little blues in A. One.
Let's do one demonstrated with what he called the quick 4.
Quick change on the second bar of the.
And then we'll do it without it.
Right. So a 1, 2, 3, 4. A 1. Quick change. Back to the 1 chord for 2 bars. 5th bar, go to the 4 chord for 2 bars. Then back to the 1. Then the 5 chord, 4 chord, 1 chord. 5. Now stay on the 1. No quick change. See, that's 4 bars of A. Now the same form as before. Five, 4, 1. So basically, you have a quick change on bar 2, which goes to the 4 chord. You know, on some songs, or it just stays on the 1 chord for 4 bars. So, and that's a 12-bar blues form. And sometimes, then the turnarounds are also important that you know on certain songs. You know, sometimes it's just simple, right?
Right.
Or sometimes it's 1, 4, 1, 5, or sometimes it goes down. You know, I mean,
right, and that's important. I'll just break in here, since I'm functioning like the bass player. It's important to know on how that's going to end up on, and every song is not the same. Some of them go up, doon, 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 doon. Some of them go down, doon, 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 and then there's 4 or 5 different variations of that, and you got to know the individual songs.
Yeah.
Like he mentioned, this man here asked us to play a song, and like, let's say hypothetically, if Yogi had looked up the words on his phone, we wouldn't be able to play it. It wouldn't sound right because it's got its own melody. Even though it sounds like blues, it's got its own melody. It's special to that, and it's got its special chords and these little turnarounds. Even though they may be very subtle, it might be only a difference of 1 or 2 chords. Still, you don't want to get it wrong. You want to play the song faithfully to how it goes. And believe me, all those musicians who play blues, they don't just play the same chords. You know, they got a way that each of their songs go. And if you come in there and you just play over it, the standard 3-chord blues, they'll be like, no, man, wait a minute. You know, on this bar, it goes here. So don't miss that. Don't forget that, you know. And these little details that give each song its own special character. So it's just more subtle.
Yeah.
The differences are more subtle, but they're there and they're extremely important, you know. That makes the style. That's what makes it blues, you know, one of the things.
Yeah. I think it's important to build
Bliže mikrofonu, please.
great basics.
Yeah.
And then you build up your vocabulary on healthy, great basics of the style. And then when you build up vocabulary that is big, you don't play it from your head, you play it from the heart, like second nature, like feeling, like emotion. I think that's important. So these subtles and these little differences are just I think really important to the author of the songs.
Right.
They're little, but they are really important to the author.
Right. The intention, the original intention of what the author of the song was trying to get across. You put them in there at the same time. So they're essential. Yeah. That's exactly right. It's essential to the song, yeah. So you can't go to the blues thinking, oh, I know 3-chord blues, so I'm going to play every blues song ever written. There's no way. Mm-hmm. You got to get the albums and learn them, man. You know, it's like learning pop songs or rock covers or jazz standards. It's the same thing. You got to go song by song and pick them out, you know?
Yeah. And the bass lines
There's
are...
only a million of them. There's a million blues songs, so there's quite a lot.
And there's so many different blues type riffs, you know, there's like the or, you know, or, you know, I mean, there's just like, and so knowing the specifics of those songs and the bass lines and what the riff is, you know, if the guitar is just going,
right,
you know, just do that. It's not your chance to like throw in every A7 voicing that you know. So it's just about, you know, knowing those songs.
Blues music is, I think it's not complicated, but it's hard to express the feelings. Yeah. It's very hard to express.
It is hard to express. Yeah. I think, I mean, it definitely takes some time to get into that soulful groove, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like something that somebody's been playing for 1 year can necessarily know. But it is a tough expression. It's not like playing, you know, some, you know, Bach piece and playing it all like da-da-da, you know. It's got to have like a certain stinkiness to it and certain attitude and all this stuff.
The rhythm is the main thing.
Yeah.
It's got to have this undying rhythm. It's very, very strong. The rhythm is the main thing. And then from there, once you get that rhythm bouncing, then all the rest of it comes in, you know, the rawness of it, like or the stinkiness of it or whatever.
Yeah. It's about the phrasing in this emotion, I think.
Yeah.
To bring it
I just
out.
think the more you listen to it, the more you expose yourself to blues music, you'll get taken up by the bug, especially from the master players, you know, to people like B.B. King or back earlier than that, you know, going back. Although B.B. King goes back pretty early, he goes back straight to the Mississippi in the 40s,
other good
you know,
electric
30s and 40s.
Yeah, some other good early electric influences are Buddy Guy, Albert King, Albert Collins. Those guys are really must listen to dudes. You know.
I have one question from our YouTube viewers. From Nick Epic. If I may ask a question, he say. Which album or song would each of you recommend for listening?
Wow.
Okay. for blues specifically?
Yes,
I mean, I like, one of my favorites is B.B. King live at Cook County Jail.
Yeah.
I love that one.
There's a lot of spirit in that.
Yeah.
On that album, because those prisoners probably never had such a good concert in their life, whether they were in jail or out.
Right.
And yet they're in prison and they're getting B.B. King to come show up, which is like
I love
unheard of, man. That's
I love that.
They were excited.
Yeah.
What a treat, you know what I mean? Like, man. So the Cook County Jail concert, that's great, man. I don't know. I mean, for me, there's so many good albums. I mean, I don't know. I know it by, I would recommend artists like, you know, Muddy Waters.
Yeah.
Muddy Waters is real important. Anything that Muddy Waters did is great, man. John Lee Hooker, anything that he did was great. Lightning Hopkins, check him out. Howlin' Wolf. I mean, these, you really can't go wrong. They were masters, man. You know, Willie Dixon, Howlin' Wolf. He was a big, really huge, big, tall guy.
Willie Dixon actually he has a lot of good popular songs that actually
his
Zeppelin
songs were covered.
Zeppelin took a lot of ideas.
The first Zeppelin album is half Willie Dixon songs.
Yeah. But if you want to find good blues songs, Willie Dixon's a great choice.
And then there's the harmonica players, you know, like when I want to think of somebody's name, it always
Junior Wells
goes out of my mind.
Taj Mahal
Junior
played
Wells,
harmonica.
But the one I'm thinking of,
Brownie, Sonny Terry.
Yeah. Oh well, I can't think of the guy's name. That's how I am when I want to mention a name. I can't think of it. But Sonny Boy, Sonny Boy. Please listen to Sonny Boy. That's a whole world. That's the really. He could give you so much feeling of blues by himself, just by himself, with just his harmonica and his foot tapping and a microphone and him singing. He did everything. He gave you the whole picture. He gave you that feeling, and the rhythm and the song. And he was a great storyteller. Maybe that's something else we need to talk about. You know, it's important to be a storyteller, so that when you sing the lyrics, you give it feeling, you know. Now, you know, in blues, a lot of us, we cover the same few songs. So, yeah, I played that song Stormy Monday 25,000 times. But usually it's such a good song, you know, you can't help it. When you sing it, you will tell a story. You'll tell a story. And it makes it, each time you play it, it makes it better. It makes it unique and original. So you got to remember, if you're going to sing blues, you have to be a storyteller. And that was what was so great about Sonny Boy Williams, because he could go off about anything. He could make a blues up about anything. I think he was known for improvising, like creating stuff on the spot, blues verses. But yeah, I mean, his songs, what he starts singing about, it's about him. It's about his life, about what he was doing yesterday, what affected him yesterday, or, you know, last night, or yeah. So it gives it a real personal touch, man.
Right.
You feel like you know him. But yeah, he was somebody who's really special. I would recommend, definitely. And man, blues is wide, man. You know, he was mentioning Dave Van Ronk. He's known as a folk of folk blues player. That's a whole other wing.
Robert Johnson.
Johnson.
He's like one of the original. And
that goes back to the very beginning. Yeah.
Damira, šta ti kažeš? Imaš nekog omiljenog blues bubnjara?
The thing is, there's a lot of collections. You know, these guys recorded in the 30s, 40s, 50s. They recorded on 78 RPMs or singles or whatever. So it wasn't until the 60s and 70s you got people making albums like, this is my album, you know.
Right.
LP record albums. The early stuff is what you want to check out, and it was all put out on singles. So you just have to find the collections where you can get 20 songs of John Lee Hooker, 20 songs of early Muddy Waters. That's great.
Right.
That's everything. That's a library right there. Learn every song. Learn the chords, the way they go, the way the bass line goes. Learn the words. That's school. That's a school right there, man. You know.
What about for drum grooves? Doesn't have to be blues necessarily, but
you told me Muddy Waters and Howling Wolf, and that's but I don't know. I heard Ray Charles, and I thought only blind people can play the blues, and then I heard Stevie Wonder playing drums also, but it was like,
he's a brilliant drummer, man. He's great,
and we are still on. Only blind people, you know, so it was it was a little bit for me like, but
I need to lose my sight.
Yeah. But for drummers, we were like in this Bernard Purdie shuffle, and also Led Zeppelin, "Fool in the Rain," I think, which is the same groove, let's say, similar phrasing, but
you want to demonstrate that?
Yeah.
So people know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and Porcaro, Rosanna.
Yeah. Why don't you do that?
After that,
play a regular shuffle for 8 bars, and then show them what a Purdie shuffle is.
Yeah, but before that, we must know that the father of Jeff Porcaro is a jazz player, and he still is teaching jazz, and that's coming probably also from his hearing something at home. But first it was shuffle, and I don't know. For me, it was like two kinds, like Texas shuffle and Chicago shuffle.
You want to demonstrate some of those?
Yeah, but we all was like on that Bernard Purdie shuffle and Steely Dan, and you know, when I heard, I'll just demonstrate just a little bit for me that I heard these two styles.
Which one's first?
Let's say Texas shuffle.
Okay, Texas shuffle.
It was a long time ago, but I remember that my limbs are playing the same. You know? And I have 4 on the floor, which is
right. Yeah. Wow, that's nice.
That was mine, like, and this Chicago style was a little bit, let's say, separated and maybe drier, but it was the first touch with 2 different kind of
beautiful
shuffles. And then I heard Bernard Purdie, and it was halftime shuffle. which was like. Which
Groovy.
came from, let's say, traditional shuffles. But yes, he did it half-time shuffle and Full in the Rain, Led Zeppelin. Also the same group, just with open hi-hat and bigger sound.
Right.
And then Porcaro, it was like.
And that's the Bo Diddley bass drum. Oh. Yeah, Damira Šomena. This is the man right here, everybody.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
But you see how deliberate he is. His rhythm
Yes.
is deliberate. The first thing about him is his rhythm. It's like a rock, man, you know. And there's no extra notes. He plays just the clean part, you know. And in this kind of music, like blues, it's essential.
Yeah.
Absolutely essential.
Yeah, this coordination is also coming from jazz and swing. But when we play blues or rhythm and blues or this kind of groovy stuff, we kind of make that backbeat better with those ghost notes, with those little notes.
Maybe you didn't notice the little notes, but he had, if you know the hi-hat and the snare drum, they're constantly going, dick-a-da-dick-a-da-dick-a-da-dick-a-da-dick-a, but just softly, underneath.
Yeah, and then
And yeah, you can play with that, let's say, and if you want to go in a little bit more the kind of jazzy fusion kind of stuff, you can combine like. Which is something like crisscross, which I like to do sometimes just to emphasize the pocket of the main groove, which is the stamina of all the song. This is just like a spice, but yes, what is making this groove greater and better when you are playing like swingish kind of stuff. You know, you are not too tight and you are not too lazy, and you just must have really lazy kind of style and tight kind of style in the same groove. Then you hear the song, then you hear what others are doing, and you fit yourself. You just fit yourself. Sometimes not totally unison with the guys. Just fit yourself to make the song bigger and greater.
Yeah.
That's my approach.
Yep.
That's well said. Exactly how it should be. Fitting in the puzzle.
Yeah.
And that we were talking about rhythm, and as Joe was saying earlier, like rhythm is the most important thing in blues. And there's one thing that I've always enjoyed in playing groove music is that there's this magic place between swing and straight that, you know, is sort of, you know, a lot of musicians don't understand it, and it's not something understood, but you can get it from listening to Taj Mahal, listen to the Meters, listen to Zeppelin, listen to that where that hip hop like groove is, where it's not that's not funky, and that's not funky either. So you got that's right in between. So that's the kind of thing there's also all sorts of different percentages actually of swing, like, but for me, like, it always like kind of feels like comfortable in, like that Little Feat kind of thing, or the band, or those kind of like groovy, or like the Meters, like. The band is great. I'm not going. Right, that's swing, right, and it's not. That's straight. It's not that. So you got to find this little spot, like. And it's almost like you're pushing the eighth note a little strong, like. So you gotta. And I find like some good exercises are like phrasing the eighth note rather than like if I'm gonna play some dumb scale or like maybe just if I'm playing like like instead of maybe I'm gonna go instead of right? Automatically you could feel like the swing is wrong, that's not right. And that's same goes for jazz too. Like you never want to like swing that hard, especially at like slower tempos. At really fast tempos, there's almost no space to swing, because it's just what I mean? Like there's no. But I mean, at a slow tempo, you have a lot of leeway to where you want to put the swing. Let's try a little bit of that groove in C dominant thing. A 1, a 2, a 3. Bam, bam, boom, boom, that, bam, 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 boom, 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 boom. That feels good. Bam, bam, boom, bam, 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 bam. Go ahead, Joe, give me some. Woo, that's nice. See, listen how he lays back. Go ahead, Damir. Thank you guys for joining us today.
Hvala svima. Well, that's it.
Yeah,
Huh?
beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Boy.
Thank you. Thank you, Damir. Hvala, Yogi.
Yes. Hvala puno.
Hvala svima.
Pravi je gušt ugostiti ovakve glazbenike i ovakve edukatore i glazbene pedagoge, pogotovo ljude koji imaju toliko kilometara glazbenih iza sebe i toliko iskustva i toliko zapravo, da, i kila, dobro, ali i toliko malo zapravo ega da priznaju da je manje više, jel tako? Ono.
Manje je više, tako.
Da.
Less is more.
Less is more.
S tom porukom, barem što se tiče, odnosno u kontekstu blues glazbe, rhythm and bluesa, bi završili sa današnjom glazbenom radionicom. Još jedan put Yogi Lonich trio, Yogi Lonich gitara, Damira Šomena bubnjevi i Joe Kaplowitza klavijature, odnosno Hammond orgulje umjetne, digitalne. Hvala svim kolegama glazbenicima ovdje u publici, jedan pljesak virtualni za njih, odnosno stvarni. Hvala na dolasku. Bravo. Ovo je jedan naš mali eksperiment, zapravo, dakle, ovo nije javna glazbena radionica u onom smislu da ljudi mogu slobodno doći u klub i prisustvovati radionici, nego se ipak moraju najaviti na naš mail glazbonica@hgu.hr, a to vrijedi i za buduće radionice. Dakle, mi ovdje imamo nekih 10-15 mjesta i možete nas se slobodno pridružiti, ali ukoliko rezervirate na ovaj mail glazbonica@hgu.hr svoje mjesto. A evo, za tjedan dana najavljujem novu glazbenu radionicu, ponovno u terminu ponedjeljkom u 18 sati, u 6 sati popodne. Bolja polovica od Joe Kaplowitza, jel?
Da. My better half.
Yeah.
I got that. I picked it up. Bolja polovica.
Da. Ti ćeš zapravo tu ostati sad. On će ostati tu tjedan dana, spavat će u studiju.
Da, spavat će tamo u buksu, tamo, ima sve.
Jel Lela Kaplovici, naša vokalna gošća, idući ponedjeljak, uz pratnju svoga supruga, jasno, Joe Kaplowitza, a na bubnjevima će Damira Šomena zamijeniti, odnosno neće umjesto njega svirati, ali svirat će Borko Rupena, isto jedan vrlo drag, fantastičan glazbenik i bubnjar i glazbeni edukator. Dakle, bit će to jedna radionica posvećena vokalnim tehnikama pri snimanju, koliko sam ja shvatio iz naslova radionice. Dakle, ona će se koncentrirati više na neke vokalne tehnike prilikom snimanja u studiju i vezano uz produkciju. Prema tome, pratite nas putem HGU YouTube kanala, dakle Hrvatska glazbena unija, YouTube channel, ili se prijavite na boravak, odnosno na dolazak ovdje uživo. I to bi bilo to. Inače, nastavljamo i dalje sa radionicama, bit će uskoro i Goran Delaš sa svojom bas radionicom, Marko Duvnjak sa bubnjevima. Super. Da, bit će tu odličnih radionica, ali više o tom next week, odnosno idući tjedan. Dakle, gledajte nas Lela Kaplovic i njezin trio, a do tada veliki pozdrav svima i hvala vam na dolasku. Bye bye.
Hvala.
Some slow funky groove and we'll fade out slowly. Ooh. Maybe some trumpet player will join us or not.
Super. Yeah, thanks, guys.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
Somebody. Thanks, man.
Yeah.